Alright guys, on this vehicle specific video, we're going to be doing the door windows only on a 2016 Ford Fusion. This customer has the back window already tinted and they just want to have the four doors retinted. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's jump right into the outside prep and then we'll go over the door panel removal. This is a Ford, so you're going to want to trick the door latch. And then we'll wipe down the outsides. Alright, so to remove the lower weather stripping on a Ford Fusion, you only have to take out one 10mm bolt, and that's behind the handle here. And there's a specific way to remove this plastic so that you don't break it. If you grab it from the back, like a standard, like any other standard vehicle that has this plastic here, you'll break the clips that hold it in place. You actually have to go from the front, pop it forward, and then pull it forward. So you can see when you reinstall it, it goes in opposite that it would any other vehicle. If you pulled it from the back, you'd break these clips and it would never sit back in place. So let's take that 10mm out. And then we can go ahead and go from the top rear, pop it back, rolling it off. There's one clip here that you're going to want to release. And then we can grab the gasket and pull it out. We'll do the same for the rear door. Grabbing it from the front, popping it out, take the 10mm, and then grabbing the gasket, just like the front door, releasing the back top clip. Now the weather strippings are out. Very easy to remove. Now we can go ahead with the inside prep of the glass and then we'll lay out the bulk material. There was tint on these windows, so I'm taking extra care to check for any glue. Alright, now that we have the insides all clean, there was a little bit of a glue on the inside of the windows from previous window tint, so we took a little longer to do that. We got to wipe the outside bottom of the driver window. I forgot to do that. And then we'll go ahead and lay out the bulk material. This customer is getting 35% on the two fronts and 20% on the rear doors. So let's go ahead and lay out that bulk material, and then we'll go forward with hand cutting. If you guys haven't watched any of my other videos, just know it's a lot easier with a 20-inch roll. I only have 40-inch rolls, that's why I'm using these. But I split them to get both sides out of them. Go ahead and line up the bottom and cut the excess off of each. On this vehicle, the bottom edge is pretty straight, but we took the inside weather stripping off, so we're going to shove it down a little bit so that we have extra material, so we don't have to worry about the curve of the gasket. If I were doing this without removing the weather stripping, I would cut the bottom because it's not perfectly straight. But let's just cut off this extra material, roll it up for the other side. Place that in the back seat. We'll do the same for the front door. Now with the front door, we're going to line up the bottom, cut the front edge, shift it forward, mount it in place, and then cut the back, just like any other standard sedan window. Cut the front, shift it forward 1/4 inch, make sure the bottom's lined up. You can even push it down into a little bit because we removed the inner weather stripping. And then we'll cut the back. We'll go ahead and roll it down and cut the top edge. Make sure you have a fresh blade. Clean up our edges. Then we'll mount it in place to be installed. Then we'll do our standard spray squeegee spray on the inside. Peel the release liner with the teeth. Just separating the two, removing it completely. And then we'll go ahead and bottom load it. Getting that bottom front corner in first. Just like any other bottom load, there's nothing specific about this vehicle with this. Trying not to touch any of the surrounding trim. Then we'll line that top edge up really nice and squeegee it in place. After we've got it squeegeed in place, we'll go over the top with the blue huck towel and the gray lid coat. Push down the sides with the gray lid coat because it's very open. We'll check the outside with the little chiseler and the heat gun. Push it down the corners. And give it a little bit of heat from the inside, seal it up nice. We can roll it up and finish off the bottom. Push out the bottom with the gray lid coat and the heat gun. Check the outside for any imperfections. Using the heat gun to evaporate the water so that we can see. Then we can go ahead and move on to the rear door. We got this bottom edge lined up. We're going to cut the back straight edge first, and we're only going to cut it up to about right here, because you can see you start to get this bend, but the glass doesn't do that itself, only the gasket. And you can actually see the gasket starting to pull out of this trim here, so that'll really mess the cut up. So we want to cut up about 1.5 inches. We'll go ahead and tear that away. We'll shift it back about 1/4 inch, covering the gasket, making sure the bottom's lined up or even lower than the gasket. Mount it in place and we'll cut the front. And then we'll roll it down and cut the top edge. When you roll this down, you'll notice that the window shifts a lot, and you might have a gap here, but once you install it, you won't see that gap because the window will be shifted back. It could be just from the tint pulling on the surrounding trim, causing the window to shift like that. When we cut the top edge, we're going to cut this top straight part first, and I'll show you in a second. So we have that straight edge, and then we have another angle edge here, but it's pretty straight. We're going to roll the window up a little bit to expose this angle down here, and you can see how it curves a little bit at the end there. We're going to try to match that as best as possible. So we're going to put about, I'd say about a ½ inch of blade out. Start from the top. Go down nice and smooth and try to catch that angle down there. That way we can continue that when we do the final trimming, which we'll do right now. We'll start off with this top edge, the top corner, which is right here. I'm going to make that nice and tight. And then the front edge, we'll do a continuation and then a tight radius. And then with this back edge, we're going to continue that straight edge that we cut. And then continue that top edge radius that we tried to continue. So you get a nice clean top edge on that. And then we'll clean up the bottom edges. Go ahead and mount this to be installed. Do our spray squeegee spray on the inside, wiping our squeegee blade after each stroke, as you should on every vehicle. And we'll grab our tint. I'm going to bottom load again from the front edge, front bottom corner. Lay it in place, work the back side into place, even it out, and then line up the top edge. Make sure the top edge is nice and tight. Hold it in place and then we'll squeegee it. It may move around a bit, so just make adjustments. This is the same on any type of car, like this could happen. And we can go ahead and push out the top edge with the Gray Lid Co. Blue Huck towel on the heat gun. This step is extremely important, especially when it starts to get colder out. The tint doesn't stick as fast, or if you use too much soap, heating it up on the inside, letting it tack a bit and then pushing it out with this will definitely seal up the top edge, and you won't have to worry about the tint shifting when you roll it up or peeling down the road. And then we'll check it outside. The heat gun on the outside and the little chisel on the inside, pushing out specifically the top corners and any little imperfections that there may be. You can see there's a little spot right here. You can usually just heat that up, push it out, give it a little work, push it, and that works it right out nice and smooth. We're ready to roll this up and finish it off. Down the sides. And then we'll go across the bottom with the Gray Lid Co. card. Just make sure that no fingers pop up after you reinstall the weather stripping. Wipe the panel down, wipe the window down, check it from the outside. We look good, so let's jump into the quarter glass windows. Now I have this section left from the other side, well, from this side for the other side. What I'm going to do is, since I don't have that side cleaned yet, I'm going to lay this down backwards as if I were putting it on that window. And I'm going to cut the excess off, and that'll be enough for the quarter glass window. So that would be the other side. We'll cut this excess off. We do this to make sure, you can just cut a rough piece off of this, but you could end up cutting into the window by accident. So if you're doing it this way, this is a good way to measure. Make sure you have enough for the other side still. So this is good for the quarter glass window. This will actually be good for both quarter glass windows. So I'm going to be conservative with it. I'll spray out the soapy water. I'll lay down one side and I'll cut the excess off. And I'll put that excess in the back seat so that it can be done for the other side as well. So we're going to cut this quarter glass window out. This is 20%, so it's pretty easy to see the dot matrix. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but if you got to look at certain angles so you don't get a reflection. But I'm going to break a fresh blade so I don't cause any scoring to the glass. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut this out right to the edge of the dot matrix. This is too dark for you. If you're doing it yourself, obviously use a drop plate. Applying very light pressure. Get that cut out. Make sure edges are all good. Not too much extra material. We're right at the edge there. The method I'm going to use to install this, I'm going to stick this in my mouth, hold it on my mouth, then I'm going to do a spray squeegee spray and peel the liner right in the air. Let's go ahead and peel the liner. I like to mist it up with water first so it adds some weight to it. Slide the clear release liner off. Put the bottle down. I'll lay the tint on my hand like this, and I'll just lay it right on the window without touching any of the edges. Now when I'm doing a quarter glass like this, and it's very slippery, if you go to squeegee this, it's going to move around. So you want to make sure you line it up in place so there's no light gaps. And then we'll grab the heat gun and we'll heat it up on the outside for a couple seconds. This will cause the tint to kind of tack into place so it won't move around when you hit it with the squeegee. And once the glass is warm, you want to make sure that you have soapy water on the tint side, and we're going to take the squeegee. We're going to give it a little tap just to mount that one area down where we're heating. And once it's mounted, you can let go of the heat and continue to squeegee it, and it will not move. That's a little quarter glass window trick where it's tight and you really can't get a finger in there to hold it in place. A couple little imperfections here. And go around the dot matrix with the yellow turbo to get them to lay nice and evenly. And that's it for the quarter window. Only other one we have to do is the front quarter glass window, which is actually the hardest one because it's so tiny. So we're going to do the same thing with the excess material from the front door. I'll just lay it out here on this front door, reversed. The only thing you have to pay attention to when you're doing the front door is it does curve, so cut off as little as possible. We do have this reversed, so this would be how it would be laying on the front door, so we can go ahead and actually cut it with the angle. Right now the tint side is facing me, so when I take this off and I put it on the front door on the passenger side the proper way, this line will line up with the other door's curve as well. If we did it with the clear facing us as if we were applying it to this window and we cut it like so, it wouldn't match up to the other door because it would be the opposite pattern. So pay close attention to that. And we're going to use this for both front quarter glass windows as well. So we're going to cut off just what we need. Lay that on the windshield for the other side. It's more than enough. And we'll spray up the soapy water on the quarter glass window, lay it so all sides are overlapping. We'll use our 3.5-inch turbo for this, mounting it in place. And I like to cut the bottom edge first, so I'll put my finger in there, make sure it's in place, put the Olfa knife in there, slide the blade out, and just cut that. And then we'll cut the back edge. So I'll cut this extra material off here. Cut the back edge. Remember, I'm putting the blade in with no blade out. So the holder down, push the blade out just enough to cut it. On a 45-degree angle. And then the tricky part here is cutting on the dot matrix line, which is not a dot matrix line, but it's just a black solid line, because it's very tight on the inside. So we want to cut it pretty much exact on that line. So we're going to cut right on that black line, the border, keeping it as tight as possible. It might be hard for you guys to see this, but you'll see when I install it how close it is. Yeah, it's right to the edge there. So we're going to take that off. Make sure I cut it the proper way. Yep. Now we'll go inside with this, do the spray squeegee spray, and lay it into place. So with this quarter window, I like to rinse it out a bit because some contamination could be stuck on the top and rinse down. Squeegee that out. We'll do a light mist. We'll peel the liner just like we did with the rear quarter glass window. Misting it up very lightly, and then we'll lay it into place. Make sure there's no gaps, and we'll do the same thing. We'll heat it from the outside so that it tacks up really nice before we go and squeegee it. So once you have that heated up on the outside, make sure you have a nice light mist of water on the inside of that window. Continue to heat it as we do that initial tack. You can see it moved. Line it back up into place. Heat it up a little bit more. Try to get that to tack up before you do any hard squeegee presses. And that's it. The last step here, with just like any other window, is you want to check it from the outside, make sure there's no imperfections, work them out with the little chiseler, which I already visually inspected it as I was squeegeeing out because I was already looking from the outside with the heat gun. So we can go ahead and roll these up for the other side. I'm not going to include tinting the other side in this video, just like I don't with any other vehicle specific video, because the other side is exactly the same as this side. Now we'll follow up with the weather strip reinstallation, and it's very simple. You're going to grab your weather stripping, lay it in the front, slide it into place. You just got to bend this a little bit to get it under this piece of plastic here. Lay it in, give it a smack. Reinstall the 10mm bolt. And then when we reinstall this plastic, like I said in the beginning, we're going to slide it into the back and pop it into place. So it's got to slide back, not front like most. We'll do the same thing for the rear door. Lay it into place. And reinstall that cover. That is it. And that is how you tint the side door windows on a 2016 Ford Fusion. I will see you guys in the next video.